Citi Field has been a wonderful home field advantage for the Mets so far this year. 17-9 in their home ballpark, and they'll hope to shine again tonight on the hottest day of the year in New York so far as they try and take down the Phillies for a second straight day. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets playing the Philadelphia Phillies. Mets baseball is presented in HD by IOTV. Get your HD free with IOTV. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling with you tonight as the Mets play the middle game of a three-game series against the Phillies. The Mets won last night, their third straight victory, all against last year's World Series participants. First time that's ever happened since interleague play began in 1997. The Mets will try and go over 500 tonight against the Phillies after last night posting an 8-0 win, fueled by their catalyst, Jose Reyes, who all of a sudden looks like he's got the spark back in his legs.
Well, it looks like Jose now is really come back to strength and explosiveness again. He had 3 hits last night in his last 5 games. And remember, in the leadoff spot, hitting .375 and 24 at-bats. He's stolen 10 bases in his last 10 attempts. He has been the catalyst, and as like Ronnie said at the broadcast last night, when Jose Reyes scores 2 or more runs, the Mets win 80% of the time. Well, what did Jose do last night? There's his triple. Mets won big in a big win over the Phillies.
Mets won with their offense, but they also won with their pitching. The Mets have pretty much turned over their rotation over the last couple of weeks, with the exception of Mike Pelfrey and Johan Santana. R.A. Dickey turned in a second straight terrific start last night through 6 shutout innings, and tonight for the second time the ball goes to Isanori Takahashi.
That's been a really strange season for Mets starting pitching this year. It's been way up or way down, and it's way up right now. You see the numbers for Takahashi. The thing you got to love is that he throws strikes, and people tend to forget. You get a lot of these players that have spent 10 years in Japanese leagues, and you feel like you're getting them at the very end. 32-15 his last season with his best ERA last season. We're getting Takahashi at his best.
And for the Phillies, Joe Blanton, a pitcher the Mets have had a lot of trouble with, but who has had trouble getting his season on track after a late start.
Well, he's been outstanding since coming over for the Oakland A's. The thing about Blanton is the first time through the lineup, he has been outstanding all season long. Second and third time, maybe that's when the Mets are going to have a chance to try to dent the armor of Joe Blanton and the Phillies.
So it's Takahashi for the Mets trying to keep the run going for the Mets. Joe Blanton pitches for the Phils on a hot night in New York. Come on back. All the action on SNY. By Geico. By Frostbrewed Coors Light, the world's most refreshing beer. By AT&T, rethink possible. By Volkswagen. And by State Farm. Today's State Farm agent of the day is John Romero of Merrick. Get inside Citi Field. Take a guided tour of Citi Field and visit the Mets clubhouse, dugout, the Mets Hall of Fame and Museum, and more. Call 718-507-TIXX or log on to Mets.com to reserve your tour today. Here's your Suzuki around the majors. The Yankees and Twins completed their suspended game from last night. Derek Jeter, right after they resumed, hit a home run in the sixth. That stood up. Yankees beat the Twins 1-0. They'll play another one tonight. Lucas Shaver is on a roll. 8 innings, 6 hits for the Royals today as they beat the Rangers 5-2. And the Mariners got 4 in the bottom of the 8th. Mike Sweeney, a 2-run homer as they beat the Tigers 5-4.
The Mariners, who have struggled all season long, 4 in 3 or 4 games is good for them in scoring run. And Holtshaver doing what Greinke has not been able to do for Kansas City so far this year.
It's a night for the sundresses and a night perhaps for Takahashi to show off his stuff for the home folks. He's great against the Yankees on Friday night. He'll try and duplicate that. First pitch coming up. Little change for Charlie Manuel, Ben Francisco, Wilson Valdez, and the ex-Met Brian Schneider all in the lineup tonight. First start for Schneider since coming off the disabled list. The Phillies have not scored in 28 of their last 29 innings. A good offensive team that's in an offensive slump right now.
And the Metsy defense brought to you by Lexus, and you see right there we're highlighting Mr. Davis, and I think very subtly he hasn't been hitting the ball that grand lately. A little bit here, a little bit there, but his glove very quietly I think has had a calming effect on infield, particularly David Wright over third base. He handles the glove well, good hands, he scoops well, and he's been picking a lot of David's throws out of the dirt. And let me tell you something, that is great for infielders to know that they've got a guy over there that can pick your miss throws. And there's Castillo at second, getting another start tonight. Jose, of course. David at third. And the outfield defense, we'll touch on that. Bay, Pagan, and Francoeur. I think that is really a fine defensive outfield for an NS Stadium, Gary, Citi Field, where you need a good defensive outfield, the big spacious park here, and particularly a center fielder that can cover ground like Pagan.
I'm pitching tonight for the Mets. Itsunori Takahashi. I saw the numbers against the Yankees, but really tending to forget how great he's been all season long. Out of that bullpen, that career high when he went 3 innings and struck out 7 batters, but now entrenched and taking the place of Oliver Perez, and see if he can back up that great effort against the Yankees last Friday evening.
All right, Dickey, after his stellar effort last night, the elbow, by the way, his left elbow checked out fine today, and he should be good to go for his next start, which will be in Milwaukee on Sunday afternoon.
He was really fortunate that that didn't do more damage.
Shane Victorino will lead things off for the Phillies, who have scored just 15 runs in their last 7 games. Victorino's been among the culprits, just 3 for his last 26.
340 against left-handers so far this year. Victorino with 2 home runs.
And Takahashi starts the evening with a strike called, fastball on the outside. 35-year-old Itsunori Takahashi, his second major league start, 6 scoreless against the Yankees Friday night, a no decision game for him, but certainly pitched well enough to win. And it has been very instructive how the Mets have basically ripped down their rotation because of injuries and because of ineffectiveness, and are putting it back together again. And so far, the replacement pieces have been outstanding.
That's something we haven't seen very much from Takahashi. Little cutter there.
He's got a lot of weapons, some of which might have been buried while working in the bullpen.
There's the big hesitation on that leg kick, Ronnie, and the big, right at the point, at the highest point of his leg kick. That little hesitation, like Satchel Paige.
Very nice.
Well, it seems as though every Japanese pitcher pauses at the top, but he seems to have more of a pause when he's hanging that leg. Victorino hooks one down toward the left field line. And Bay is over to grab it in fair territory for the first out of the night.
Here you go. Here's the pause up top. Another pause as he gathers to get on that back leg. He puts it off that backside.
Does that double up and down with his kick.
There's just a lot of things going on that if you don't face Takahashi a lot, it's going to I don't know, it would be deceptive to a hitter, throw you off.
There's Polanco, who went 3 for 5 last night, is up to 307 on the year. Well, clearly the leg hang and the way he hesitates there creates deception. But what about in terms of his pitching? Is there a reason for it that makes him a more effective pitcher other than deceiving the hitters?
Well, you know, I think that a lot of times in this game today, when a guy doesn't throw 95 miles an hour, he's not supposed to be able to get hitters out. He just knows how to throw strikes. He's got good stuff. His changeup is a power changeup with the ability to strike people out. He changes speeds, works quickly, throws strikes. It's worked since 1887.
What about before that? So before that, the hitters could ask for their own pitch.
Well, they hadn't invented the ball yet, so that was the problem. They're throwing up buckets, and it's just good changeup.
You know it's a good changeup when it's right down the middle, as you see right there, and he still has a hitter out in front.
Takahashi faced the Phillies once in relief back on the 2nd of May in Philadelphia. Gave up 5 hits in an inning and a third. Now facing them as a starter for the first time. And Polanco waves at the changeup, a very tough man to strike out, and he goes down on back-to-back changeups from Takahashi.
Well, the one down the middle, but this one just perfect on that outside corner. Started there and drifted about 3-4 inches into the other batter's box.
So 2 out and nobody on, and now Chase Utley, who had probably the worst night we've ever seen him have at the plate against the Mets. 0 for 5 with a couple of strikeouts.
Is his hip bothering him a little bit? I think he's got some injuries that he doesn't talk about. Charlie Manuel, as you see the defense, Keith,
Well, there's the shift. You can't call it a triangle shift. They're playing on the edge of the infield dirt.
He never complains about injuries. Charlie Manuel says he's gone to him, said, "Are you all right? I'm going to take you out of the lineup today." And he goes, "Whatever, Skip, whatever you want to do." I mean, very quiet, wants to play every day, never, ever complains about an injury.
And Utley takes a fastball for a strike, 90 miles an hour from Takahashi. That's as hard as he'll throw.
You know, we're talking about the hip. We're beginning to tell you guys out there, if you don't know, he had hip surgery a season ago. Played through the playoffs 2 seasons ago with it fully inflamed.
Utley in the top 5 in the league in on-base percentage, also in the top 7 in the league in slugging percentage. So he is having another terrific season. See the rookie Jason Hayward up there in the top 5. That's something you don't see very often.
How about Josh Willingham? Jeez.
I thought it was just a list of the people that killed the Mets. I didn't know that was on base percentage.
Andre Ethier, of course, on the disabled list right now, leading the league in just about everything when he went down with a broken finger. So now Takahashi behind on Utley, 3-1 with Ryan Howard on deck. Nothing but fastballs here to Utley, 3-2. It's probably the most consistent high velocity Takahashi's gotten on the gun since we've seen him this year at 89 and 90.
I think other than Santana, Takahashi has been the best at recognizing this big field. When he gets behind hitters, he throws that fastball away, hit it to the big part of the park, see if he can hit it out to center field.
Change up. Oh, slide piece.
3-2. And he bounces it foul.
I'm sorry, Gary. The last time out, Takahashi got a lot of strikeouts on the Yankee lineup to left-handers on that changeup in the dirt. He's yet to throw a changeup to the left-hand hitting Utley.
Interestingly, the last couple of years in Japan, he struggled against left-hand hitters, but he's had much better numbers against lefties this year, perhaps due to unfamiliarity. 3-2. Hit to left field, and Bay easing over. Side retired. Takahashi sets him down 1-2-3. Mets come to bat on the bottom of the first. No score.
have really turned it on over the last few days. They've had double digits in hits in 4 of the last 5 games. 8 runs, 13 hits last night, led by Jose Reyes, who takes inside from Joe Blanton for ball 1.
Joe Blanton, the Nashville, Tennessee native, 12-8 last year, led the Phillies with 195 in the 3rd innings pitched.
And Reyes hits one to center field, chasing Victorino back a couple of steps for the first out of the night.
Well, his numbers so far, his ERA is high, but he's been a bit deceptive. Came off the disabled list with a left oblique strain, but he's been outstanding early in the game, but is tired after the 4th or 5th inning.
In fact, Blanton has owned the first inning. He has not given up a hit yet in the first inning this season. 0 for 15 are the opposing hitters. Luis Castillo will try and change that. Louis 1 for 4 last night, drove in a run with an 8th inning single. And tries to drop down a bunt, but fouls it off. And I think more importantly for Louis, looked like he was more comfortable running last night with a new pad in his shoe. Playing with a bruise on the base of his left foot.
He hustled down that first base line, that one ground ball. It got thrown out, but boy, he busted. That man does it also right there every time.
Shallow left field. Ben Francisco positioned perfectly for the second out. So Blanton continues to roll through the first. Jason Bay will be the batter. Jason 1 for 5, 2 RBIs last night. The way he had been going, that's a bad night. But he has a 5-game hitting streak, and over the 5 games, he's 11 for 20, a .550 batting average, including the 2 home runs he hit Sunday night. Off the plate, 1-1. To Bay.
And the Coors Light. Philly defense. Boy, oh boy. Brian Howard, he likes to play every day. You can see there. Wilson Valdez gets the start at shortstop. Remember him last year with the New York Metros.
Down to third, and Polanco waits on it and throws out Bay, and Blanton easily through the first inning. Takahashi back to the mound to face Ryan Howard with no score. Help send your favorite Mets to this year's All-Star game by voting up to 25 times at Mets.com. Vote early, vote often, and vote Mets. Vote today at Mets.com. It is Fleet Week in New York, and plenty of naval officers and enlisted men making their way to the ballpark tonight.
What a nice port of call.
New York?
Yes, you bet.
#1. Ryan Howard had been tearing up lefties until last night when Raul Valdez struck him out in his last 2 at-bats. He had been 7 for his previous 11 against left-handers before he ran into Valdez, now facing Takahashi. And Howard lays off the slider. 1-0.
Yet to throw a changeup to the lefties. He might be sticking that in his back pocket for a later date
when he needs it.
Howard
lifts one to left. A lot of early work for Jason Bay in this game. 4 batters, 3 putouts for the left fielder. Check out the Inside Pitch, brought to you by Xerox Business of Baseball. Xerox, ready for real business.
You don't have to throw 95 miles an hour. If you have a little sneaky fastball, that can get you by. He does have an outstanding Shinto, a power changeup that can strike out hitters. And I mentioned the 32-15 record in the last 3 seasons before he came over from the Yomiuri Giants. Takahashi was at the top of his game when he came over here to the States to test his mettle against these major leaguers.
Jason Worth, 4th in the National League with a .327 batting average, leading the league with 22 doubles this year, which is a ton this early in the season. And first pitch swinging, flies one out to center for Angel Pagan. And a rare 1-pitch out for Isanori Takahashi. In fact, Elias pointed out to us before the game that Takahashi has gotten a first pitch out on only 3 out of 135 batters coming into this game, the lowest percentage in the majors, whereas Joe Blanton had gotten a first pitch out on over 15% of his batters, the highest percentage in the majors.
And it's really something that you try to do, want to do. The problem with Takahashi, first time through, not a lot of people have seen him, so they've been trying to take a couple pitches to see what he has. That's been one reason. Secondly, when they do swing, they've swung and missed a lot early on, and he has a lot of strikeouts, which strikeouts to most of you folks at home makes you want to cheer. It's not always the best thing for a contact pitcher like Takahashi.
Francisco drives one to deep left center. Back goes Pagan near the wall, and it's off the fence. Barehanded by Pagan, and Francisco hustles into second with a double. Well, that is an instance where undoubtedly the ballpark took away a home run. High off that 16-foot fence in left center.
Belt-high fastball. This is a Jack Murphy double right here, folks. In Jack Murphy Field in San Diego, the old stadium where the Chargers play now, still play, had the high fence like that, and that right there cost Dave Winfield back in his prime a lot of home runs. But that ball was a rocket.
What a play by Pagan to pull that ball off the wall barehanded.
Barehanded. If it wasn't Francisco running, who has great speed, it would have been in play at second.
Well, here's Wilson Valdez, who played for the Mets last year, played 41 games, as a matter of fact, for the Mets when they had all the injury problems at shortstop. And Valdez takes ball 1.
Well, your IOTV pitch differential, and that's right down Broadway. You don't want to do that. That is not part of the program.
I will tell you, though, if we showed that IOTV pitch differential on board, it's the same pitch. Sometimes the hitters miss it.
Yep.
So when somebody says, well, he only made 1 mistake, he might have made 7 or 8.
It's not true. During the course of the game, you're going to make tons of mistakes. The key is you don't make mistakes when there's ducks on the pond.
Well, ducks on the pond has been a particular concern as you look at the former Met Brian Schneider in the on-deck circle for the Phillies lately. Last night, just 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position. They left 13 on base in a shutout loss. That's hard to do. Good changeup, and it's 2-1 to Valdez.
Another good changeup from Takahashi. You know, Gary, to take that a step further, the Mets were so great in the clutch last night, and the Phillies weren't. You got to give a lot of credit to Met pitching. They just got tougher when the situation got toughest.
Well, they gave up 9 hits last night, and that's pitching, and 5 walks. So that's a lot of base runners.
In fact, the Mets tied a team record last night for most base runners allowed in a 9-inning shutout, with those 14 Phillies who reached base safely. Wilson Valdez now 32 years old. Juan Castro started at shortstop last night. Jimmy Rollins on the disabled list for the second time with a calf injury, giving Valdez another opportunity. 2-2. Hammered off his foot, a foul ball.
Notice, Ronnie, that Takahashi there, from the belt, from the stretch, doesn't have the big leg kick and the double pump. That goes quicker home.
Less deception, keeps the runners closer, and also, Keith, when he gets in trouble, likes to go to that cambio. We have to find that change up
in Japanese.
Yeah.
I wonder how you say that.
We'll get it. Next broadcast. Sorry.
We have 2 translators downstairs.
2-2. Fouled away. Well, the changeup that Takahashi throws has been identified at times as a screwball. Yeah. But if you look at the way he holds it like a changeup. He calls it a sinker.
Yeah.
Maybe something lost in translation.
I think it's more of a sinker. It doesn't have the screwball rotation.
We usually think of a sinker as a sinking fastball, which it's clearly not. Just inside, it's 3-2 to Valdez.
Takahashi is setting up his hard stuff early, first time through the order. It's a whole different look. Very interesting.
And Valdez goes down on the changeup. And Takahashi has his second strikeout of the night. A double and 1 left. Mike Davis up to lead off in the bottom of the second. As we move in on Citi Field, as the Mets and Phils meet for the second time in this series, with the Mets trying to keep their winning ways going. Ike Davis leads off against Joe Blanton. Davis 0 for 3 and a walk last night. He's now been on base 13 straight games, and he drives this one to center field, chasing Victorino back. It's over his head and off the wall. Davis is going to have to dig to get to second, and he arrives sliding safely. What a shot. 408 feet off the wall.
Oh, that's a bullet. Yep. And first pitch. Attacking 408. Boy, this is a big yard. Lots of spaces to play.
9th double for Ike Davis, and the Mets have their first hit of the night.
Well, who said that Ike Davis was a doubles hitter with occasional power? Stat Ron Davis, right? When Kevin interviewed him. Good assessment.
Well, here's David Wright. David 1 for 4 last night with a double that Victorino lost in the lights.
A slight shade of David into right center field.
David has torn up left-hand pitching. That's what he has traditionally done, but struggled this year against the righties.
Well, their pitch almost got outside. Is that a changeup, Ron?
It's a fastball, but it's hard to judge that pitch because you're trying to get a first pitch fastball over. Davis was ready.
David hitting just .219 against right-handed pitching this year. He does have 5 of his 8 home runs, but still, that's a number that he knows he needs to improve.
The Mets got runners over with nobody out to third base more than a few times last night. They were spectacular with that, and that's why they kept just slowly building up their lead until they had that big explosion, that 3-run explosion in the 8th. They did all the right things fundamentally.
They were great at getting runners over and at getting them in from third base.
And Blanton has countered 2 out of the first 3 pitches inside fastball. There's 2 ways to counter a hitter, and when you don't want him to hit the ball the right side, if he's a right-handed hitter, you pound him in. That way he's got to pull the ball if he wants to hit it. Or you can throw slow curveballs away and get him to roll over. That way the ball will go to the left side of the infield.
And Wright tries to lay off that slider and stopped it in time. Andy Fletcher with the call at first base, 2-2.
Good cut. High fastball meant to be in right down the pipe, but upstairs enough. David a little tardy. There's that big wrap around his head with the barrel of the bat. It's a long, I mean, I hate to just beat a dead horse, but it just seems to me that it's a long way for that barrel to come around.
7th pitch from Blanton to Wright, and the slider, and again he lays off, and it's 3-2.
Well, this has been the biggest change in David as Angel Pagano waits. He's been laying off that breaking ball away, one he was swinging over earlier in the year.
Now the 3-2, and he struck him out. Foul tip held by Schneider, and Wright is down for the first out of the inning.
Pretty good sinker right here, Ronnie. Good late movement.
Change,
yeah. Oh boy, the bottom dropped out.
Well, that's a good sequence of pitching when you think about it. Pounded and sinker in, and then the same pitch that looks like a sinker, 8 miles an hour difference.
So Wright can't move Davis. Now Angel Pagan steps in. Angel 1 for 3 last night, hitting .345 over the last 15 games.
I'd have to say that Angel Pagan at this point in the season is the most improved Met from last year. He's got a world of talent.
And he's achieving a level of consistency. Get into play every day. Remember that he did not have the center field job coming out of spring training, even though many of us thought he should have. He was not the opening day center fielder. Gary Matthews was. And they shared that spot for the first week or so before Angel won it outright. And he has run with it ever since.
There's Gary Matthews Jr. right there. His father's here. He's with the TV and radio broadcast team of the Phillies. Sarge, Gary Matthews Sr. One of my great buddies.
Well, Angel Pagan has been given the nickname by his teammates and Jerry Manuel as Crazy Horse. Last year it was Crazy Horse because he occasionally could get crazy on the bases. This year it's become Crazy Horse because he's a little bit of royalty every time he plays.
2-1 from Blanton. To the right side toward the hole. Base hit. Davis will be held at third by Chip Hale as Worth comes up throwing.
Oh boy, not backing up home. Blanton. Woo! That ball.
Schneider was fortunately for the Phillies able to smother that ball.
Wow, this is the CNI dog right here. It's a Baltimore chop. That ball had eyes. I'll give you all the cliches, folks.
Beautiful.
Bill Ullman.
And the arm of Worth and wisely Chip Hale holding up Ike Davis.
So the Mets get a runner to third with less than 2 out. They excelled in this spot last night, driving in the first 3 opportunities they had. And Rod Barajas, who has torn up the Phillies since he left them after an ill-fated year in 2007, gets the first crack at it tonight. Barajas 2 for 4 last night. Now hitting at .267 with 10 home runs. Since he left the Phillies following that 2007 season, Barajas is hitting .552 against the Phillies. 16 for 29 with 7 home runs. Now that's
revenge.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the Philly fans have booed him because he was unsuccessful there. Pagan runs, dropped by Schneider, and Pagan steals second without a throw, his 6th of the year.
Howard right there near the bag. Not much of a, well, Pagan, great jump, but Howard doesn't really jump off the bag and cover that hole. And you should with a hitter like Barajas, who's really a right-handed pull hitter.
Infield back for Barajas, and it's 3-0 with Jeff Francoeur, who had a big night at the plate last night, standing on deck.
You know, I'll make one more comment about Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse in real life was never photographed. Incidents thought they got photographed, their spirit would go into the picture.
Yes.
Never a photograph taken of Crazy Horse. We don't know what he looks like. Just thought I'd throw that little tidbit in there.
I'll give you one more. You know, Pagan is not the first man to be nicknamed Crazy Horse. That belonged to Tim Foley.
That's right.
Tim Foley, the guy who would throw his batted pitch outs and get base hits. 3-1 to Barajas. And he drives one to left field. That'll get a run in. Francisco picks it off. Davis trots in to score. 1-0 New York. And just as they did last night, the Mets execute with a runner at third and less than 2 out.
Well, it's called chipping away at the foundation. And sooner or later, the walls will crumble, and that's what the Mets have been doing. And this is easy right here for Davis. It hit deep enough. The only thing in question here is the back run.
I don't know if there's one guy better in the lineup for the Mets than Rod Barajas when you need a sacrifice fly, because he is a fly ball hitter.
25 RBIs now for Barajas. That puts him second on the team behind David Wright. Who would have expected that when the year began? Jeff Francoeur getting the intentional pass with Takahashi on deck. And I guess it's a measure of what Francoeur did last night. Jeff had been struggling so mightily. But last night, 2 for 3, and even the time he was retired, he had a bullet line drive to left. Drove in a couple of runs, and he gets the intentional walk here.
And we talked about the Mets pitching staff, how we got a lot of hitters in that staff, and Takahashi's one. He's not an easy out. He has an idea of the plate.
There's no Raul Valdez.
That's right.
Valdez, what, 4 for 7 now? Double in an RBI last night. He's been a revelation.
He has.
A long relief outing in Washington, and then the 3-inning save last night. 2 out and 2 on Takahashi. 1 for 4 at the plate, looking for his first big league RBI. Mets have already scored a run here in the second against Joe Blanton. He's making just his 5th start of the season. Valdez, who is still a candidate to start Saturday in Milwaukee, although Jerry Manuel says now Fernando Nieve is the front runner for that job. 1-1 to Takahashi. That came as a bit of a surprise, although Nieve battled for a starting spot during spring training. Certainly his arm is not stretched out right now to be a starter. 1-1, and Takahashi lines one to left, but Francisco, playing shallow, is there to grab it and end the inning. Mets take the early lead. Mike Davis, first pitch of the inning with a double off the wall. Pagan with the base hit to move him over. Ron Barajas, a fly ball to bring him in, and the Mets lead 1-0 after 2.
Portion of the broadcast tonight. The live Verizon Ask the Booth, and I scoured and scoured all the fans at Citi Field, and I came up with a Citi Field veteran. Herman from Queens attended 58 games last year, game number 15 this year. I feel like he's got the game face ready. Herman, what's the question for the guys? Go.
Guys, my question today is who would you start Saturday, Raul Valdez or Fernando Nieve?
Can I act like the game show host and say, guys, go for it?
That's very good.
Hey, thanks, Wink Martindale. I think that I would right now. I think Nieve's not a bad choice because, you know, he did battle Maine in spring training, pitched pretty well, and John came out on top. The Mets have already taken one of their valuable resources in the bullpen, Takahashi, out, and he's done fantastic. But it's worked for the team because Raul Valdez has been outstanding in the bullpen, replacing him. And I don't know if you can do that again. If you take Valdez out, then Oliver Perez, I think, is going to have to be the guy to play that role. So I don't know. You keep taking these guys that have done so well in the bullpen, put them in the rotation. That's a good thing for them. Might even be a good thing for the team. But you still got to get those 18 outs at the end of the game.
Ryan Schneider drives one to left. Another chance for Jason Bay. And so Schneider, the former Met, first at bat off the disabled list, is retired.
And remember, I meant 9 outs, not 18 outs. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Last year, when Nieve came up out here with the Mets, he pitched brilliantly, and that was the first game he got shelled. He got shelled in Milwaukee, if you recall.
Here's the pitcher, Blanton. 2 for 8 at the plate this year, lifetime 124 hitter. It does seem to me that the way Valdez was used in his last 2 outings in Washington for the 5 innings behind John Maine, and then left in to finish the game last night for 3 innings and 57 pitches, it kind of looked like he was being groomed to be a starting pitcher.
Yeah, like they were stretching him out to get him ready for Saturday. I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. I was watching Mr. Valdez today before the game, and he was hitting with the other starting pitchers. So you never know.
Well, here's the only mitigating thing for me. In Milwaukee, you've got one big left-handed bat, Prince Fielder, and the rest of the team is pretty right-handed. You know, Casey McGee's having a great year. Ryan Braun, obviously. I mean, those are the guys who make up the bulk of the Milwaukee order, right-hand hitter.
Yeah, sometimes your decision comes not only on who's available, who's ready, but sometimes on the team you're facing.
And in this particular case, it might just be a one-start effort. I mean, if Takahashi and Dickey are able to hold down spots for the time being, Jonathan Neese is going to be ready to take his spot probably the next time around after that Saturday start in Milwaukee. Strike 3 called, and Blanton is down looking. Third strikeout for Takahashi.
And by the way, even though they have a bad record, Milwaukee can mash. So it's not like a great gift you're getting to face that ball club. They're very good offensively.
Well, their problem's been their pitching. And the Mets are going to see the Brewers ace on Friday night, Giovanni Gallardo. The rest of the staff, not so good.
Well, I'm kind of inclined to agree with Ron. I think that Gary wants to keep that depth in his left-handed bullpen. It kind of puts more of the onus on Feliciano.
And I guess the figuring is with Nieve that now that you have Igarashi back, he's kind of duplicated. Here's Victorino flying one to shallow right. And so a 1-2-3 inning for Takahashi. Phillies continue to struggle to score. Mets leading 1-0. Sharing their thoughts on tonight's game, plus bring you a preview of tomorrow's Mets-Phillies series finale as they debate the Hot 9 New York sports topics of the day in the next Wheelhouse, presented by Pepsi, weekdays at 5:30 only on SNY. Well, we have many uses for our ultra-low camera. This may be the best. Ray Dickey and his nail file.
That's what Bob Forrest used to do every time between starts, was he would file his index finger and his middle finger to almost razor blade sharp, and he would cut the ball on the mound. And they come out and look for something, and it was his finger.
Yeah. Of course, for a knuckleball pitcher, it's a little bit different in terms of that nail file being important.
Yeah, you need that grip into the baseball that puts your fingernails into the baseball. When I finally developed the split finger and started throwing that, I used to rip this finger off. So it used to always, the nail used to come right off all the time.
What finger?
Yeah, the index finger. So it would, you can see how ugly it is, right? And I used to just rip it off. And then on the day before, I would go to the trainer, and he would build me a new nail.
Reyes drives one to deep right field. Worth going back near the wall. It's out of here! Jose Reyes with his first home run of the season. He's back. 2-0 New York. Well, it's all been coming together for Reyes, and now his first long ball.
wants it away. Oh, hanging slider down the pipe, and he just covers it. Look, that's a 2-iron. That is a bomb.
Jose hit 2 home runs last year in his 36 games. And now his first home run of this season comes in his 183rd at bat.
Well, he's heating up. It's been a long time coming. Boy, this team is just starting. It looks like it's going to catch fire.
Three and 1 now to Castillo, who flied to left his first time up. Well, Reyes, his second full year in the big leagues, hit 19 home runs. And I think we all thought at the time that he was going to be a guy who would hit 20 or somewhere in that neighborhood with regularity. He's never hit as many as 19 since then.
Well, this ballpark's going to make it tough for him to hit 20.
Ball 4 and Castillo's aboard.
Well, in talking to Jerry today, he said that the one thing he noticed is that Jose has seemed to getting some confidence and getting his legs behind his swing. But Jerry said he learned a lesson himself. He thought that Reyes would come back pretty quickly from the injury. Missed so many games last year, and he did not. He said that's a lesson well learned. And also, don't forget, he came back. He was throwing in that third slot. Tried to make that adjustment, tried to make so many adjustments early. Now back in his safe little haven, and he seems to be responding.
Jason Bay grounded out to third his first trip. And I think the combination of missing the last 4.5 months of last year and then unexpectedly missing all of spring training this year, that's an unusual combination for anybody to come back from. And I think as Bay pops one up, and Howard will take charge. That's the first down of the inning. And I think that's part of what Jerry was trying to say, is that, this was a rather unusual circumstance. Normally, if you get a guy who's coming back from an injury, at least he'll have spring training to get himself ready. But Reyes had those 2 weeks of total inactivity and missed the entirety of spring training.
And you think of him in terms of still in his 20s, and he'll bounce back quickly. But, it's not easy. If someone like Reyes relies so much on his legs, it's so much a part of his game.
Arguably plays the most difficult position other than catcher on the field, also defensively.
Certainly one of the most important positions.
Reyes' previous home run came May the 7th of last year against the Phillies and Jamie Moyer. So it had been more than a year. Here's Ike Davis, who hammered one off the center field fence for a double and scored the first run of the game in the second. Castillo running. Schneider's throw, not in time. Stolen base number 6 for Castillo.
Boy, just an energized ball club.
I don't think you can put a lot of the blame on Mr. Schneider behind the plate. Joe Blanton, both with the stolen bases, has not paid attention to the runners at all. Both Pagan and with the set first slide by Castillo.
That is the 45th stolen base for the Mets as a team, only caught 9 times.
The first 2 stolen bases against Blanton this season. 3-0 now to Davis.
That is a big, important part of the Met ball club offense.
And successful, a very high percentage, 43 of 52 coming into today. And ball 4 to Davis, so the second walk in the inning issued by Blanton. And that'll bring Rich Doobie, the pitching coach, out as Blanton's throwing more balls than strikes tonight.
Well, for a guy that all season long in his first 4 starts has mowed through lineups in the first 4 to 5 innings, scuffling as Blanton this evening.
Interesting you said about the first two stolen bases, Gary, from Blanton this year. Since he joined the Phillies 2008, only 12 stolen bases.
But the Mets have stolen 2 easily tonight. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Amtrak's Acela Express. Book your trip today at Amtrak.com. Joe Blanton, #1 draft pick of the Oakland A's back in 2002 out of the University of Kentucky. Same school that produced a pretty good pitcher in Brandon Webb. He's trying to reclaim his career. Here's David Wright with 2 aboard and 1 out. And David hits one in the air to left field. Francisco back onto the track, right at the wall to make the catch. David just quite didn't get enough. 2 out.
Do you sense the ball starting to carry a little bit in this warm weather, Ronnie?
Yes, absolutely. The most humid, most heated day we've had so far.
Off the bat, that didn't feel like a ball that was going to make it to the wall.
No, but he quick inside, and that would have been out of Shea.
Or Citizens Bank Park.
Citizens Bank Park, yes.
15th row.
That's some nice concentration there by Mr. Francisco.
We'll always love the 2 hands.
So 2 out and 2 on. Now Angel Pagan, who had a base hit and stole a base in the second. Angel pushing that batting average up toward 300, up to 290 now. Castillo at second, Davis at first with 2 out. A run in on the Reyes home run. And Utley in front of it. Pagan retired, so are the Mets, but they had a run on a welcome sight. Jose Reyes' first home run in more than a year. And it gives the Mets and Itsunori Takahashi a 2-0 lead. Time Warner Cable high-speed pitch. Joe Blanton topping out at 89. Itsunori Takahashi at 90. And Takahashi and the Mets with the upper hand, leading 2-0 as we go to the 4th. Placido Polanco leads off. Polanco struck out his first time up. He's among the league leaders in toughest to fan. And Takahashi gets ahead of him again.
Keith, unscientific poll. What's the spread out there in Sag Harbor for Met Yankee fan?
Met country. Oh, big time. Nice. Big time.
Most of Long Island, I think,
are they?
Find is Mets country. course, those East Enders are a little different.
I feel very safe out there. They're easy. Ross Gloves with the Phillies.
Yeah, but he was a Met fan growing up. Big Keith Hernandez fan. Chase Utley on deck, and then Ryan Howard in the fourth. Luis Castillo's right in that top 5 in the league. Toughest to fan, but nobody this year has been better than David Eckstein. The inspirational leader of that first place team in San Diego. Polanco stays alive. Here's the list. Look how far Eckstein is ahead of everybody else.
Wow.
Strikeout every 44.5 plate appearances.
Molina being on that list is pretty cool, right?
Well, because he puts the first pitch in play every time.
And he's got some pop, though. And the rest of the guys are, more of a singles hitters. Polanco's got some pop, but Citizens Bank Park helps that.
This is a very aggressive Mr. Takahashi here. He is throwing a lot of fastballs early at running.
And as a consequence, able to keep his pitch count down early through just 37 pitches over the first 3 innings of this game. Into center field, and Polanco has the Phillies' second hit. Leadoff single at the fourth. Chase Utley coming up against Takahashi. Let's check in with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Guys, imagine you're Hisanori Takahashi and you've already had a nomadic travel career, playing over in Japan baseball, but now you tell your family you're going to the other side of the globe. He's got an 8-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy, and I asked him, what has it been like? I mean, how did you come to that decision to leave them behind? And he said, well, it was hard. I mean, it took a lot of thinking, but what really kind of made up my mind was, I had wanted a new challenge for some time, and Koji Uehara, who signed with the Orioles last year, is his best friend. And he said he called me after last season. He said, look, everything is different. The game, the field, the ball, the travel, everything is different, but it's exciting, and you'll like the challenge. He said, that really kind of sold me. He said, so the biggest feat for me is, of course I miss him, and it's hard, but it's called Skype. I think guys know it. It's one of these softwares you download. You can video chat. After every game, he goes home and then gets online with his kids, because back in Japan, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So the time frame kind of works there for him. And he said he hopes to bring them here at one point during this season. So just one of the things that Takahashi is dealing with, not only adjusting to the new game, but imagine this is not a situation where his family can fly here from Florida. They're in another life. I did ask guys, do they watch? I mean, I'm not sure that they get SNY in Japan. That's a little bit of a reach. But I said, do they follow online, anything? He said, well, maybe a couple of highlights. Actually, they don't care. They don't watch.
Just keep that paycheck coming.
Well, certainly there is support for Takahashi here, and both he and Ryota Igarashi have their own translator who go just about everywhere with them to provide language support and cultural support as well. But it's also got to help to have the 2 Japanese pitchers together next to each other in that clubhouse. I mean, since Japanese players started filtering over to this country, the Mets have had more Japanese players than any other franchise, starting with Takashi Kashiwada, a relief pitcher back in 1997. And for the most part, the Japanese players the Mets have brought over have underperformed. But now, for the first time this season, you've got these 2 pitchers, Takahashi and Igarashi, who have been just splendid and really outperformed expectations. 1-2 to Utley, and it's taken low 2-2. I'd probably put an asterisk in there next to Masato Yoshi, who, while he didn't have a spectacular Mets career, was very big for them in some big spots, including in the playoffs in '99. Polanco at first with nobody out. Utley's still looking for his first hit in this series.
tried in other places, Gary and Keith. They tried in the Netherlands. Remember Jim LaFay went over there for a long period of time with some Netherlands ball players, and we've had Vandenhert to Florida. We've had some of those players. We also had Davey Johnson has gone over with Jim LaFay into China to see if they can get baseball going with that large population.
And the 2 Indian pitchers that came over to this country to pitch in the minor league
with Pittsburgh.
Curveball pulled foul.
Utley seems a little bit concerned with his front foot. His stride is not really rotating that front foot. It's kind of locking up his swing.
Could that be a consequence of the hip?
That could be, because the hip's got to swing around, and the only way you can free it up to rotate your hips is to bring that foot. Both feet have got to turn towards the pitcher to get full rotation.
Struck him out with a fastball. 4 strikeouts for Takahashi.
Watch his front foot. There's no turn. So how can you rotate your hips? It's going to lock your hips up if you don't bring that foot with you, like his back foot.
So 1 out and 1 on, and now Ryan Howard, who flied to left his first trip. There's your Home Depot doing more on defense.
And that's a big shift again, but not Castillo, not in the outfield. Playing on the dirt.
In deference to the double play possibility.
Yes. And I do feel, Gary, I think that all the hitting woes with Philadelphia start with Chase Utley. When Chase Utley's not hitting, he's in a slump, I think it affects the whole team. He's so critical in that 3rd position on the order, and he is one of the best hitters in the game. Not too bad right here also.
Well, the other thing I'd throw out there is that without Rollins, they moved Victorino into the leadoff spot, and Victorino has not performed at all batting leadoff.
That's a nice ratio right there, and I think you're right, Gary. That's just like the Mets look to Reyes to jumpstart their team. Rollins, the former MVP, does the same for his ball club.
And there is every reason to think that the Phillies are going to have to go long periods this year without Rollins, having re-injured that calf just the other day. And they're going to have to find a way to compensate, you know, just as the Mets searched for solutions to compensate for Reyes' absence last year. The Phillies are still 3rd in the National League in runs scored, but not lately. 0-2 to Howard, and Takahashi keeping an eye on Polanco.
You know, one of the things they could do is, because Victorino hit behind Rollins last season when they did not have Polanco, they could leave Polanco out, put Victorino back in that 2nd slot.
Or would you consider moving Worth to the leadoff spot?
Could do that also, but boy, he's got a lot of lumber. He's got a lot of lumber. You want him with some people on.
Yes, sir.
Little tapper. Barajas out to get it. And Wright had to make a sprint for 3rd base, so Polanco wouldn't have any idea of trying to go first to 3rd with that shift on.
Well, we mentioned earlier Takahashi establishing the fastball first time through the order quickly against the left-handers. Well, he's going to the cambio, the changeup, and the 2nd time through.
So here is Worth, who fly to center his first time up.
You always have to be alert with Jason Worth. He's always ready first pitch. Made it out on the first pitch with the fly ball, of course, to center field, but he's very dangerous early in the count.
What are they going to have to pay him to keep him in Philadelphia next year?
Price keeps going up the way he's performing.
I mean, they can't let him go. They're overladen with left-hand hitters. They've got to keep him. I mean, they can use another right-handed bat in their lineup to balance it off more. They're top-heavy left-handed. They could ill afford to lose him. Phillies, of course.
7 straight first pitch strikes now for Takahashi. He's been ahead of the count all night. And that slow breaking ball just misses 1-1.
Watch Barajas. Tries to catch it as late as he can. That way he can try to bring it into the strike zone.
Mike Everett wasn't buying it.
And the scouts are here. Joe Muller's here. That's Joe in that red shirt.
Well, if you're going to be playing the Mets anytime soon, you got a lot of extra scouting to do now, as the Mets have turned over 60% of their rotation.
They dress so much nicer nowadays. Used to be spandex and 3 shirts.
And there's Joe Moeller. I don't know what he's got on.
Howie Rose, why not?
I'd be listening to you. So watch what you say.
Joe, of course, the Dodger starting pitcher back in the days when I was growing up.
He is listening to you. It's the 2-1. Changeup has Worth out in front, 2-2.
Is he listening to our broadcast?
Well, he must be, because he smiled when I said that.
Not if you.
There you go. Hey, he's on us.
Oh, there you are. Okay, I'll be darned. You got the broadcast.
I had him for Jay-Z.
You got it on the. Those hated Dodgers. I grew up in San Francisco.
Two and 2 to Jason Worth. Comes inside with the fastball and just missed. 3-2. Boy, Takahashi has been just deadly on both sides of the plate tonight. Ben Francisco on deck.
Very rarely seen Takahashi double up inside, though, Keith. You know, the purpose of the pitch, inside with a fastball, change up away.
3-2. Lifted to shallow right. Francoeur started back. Plenty of time to get there. Side retired. Leadoff hit. Polanco stranded. 10 innings as a starter. Takahashi still hasn't allowed a run. Wire available in HD, presented by IOTV. And if you're not near a TV, you can listen to all Mets games on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. One more game with the Phillies tomorrow night with Mike Pelfrey against Cole Hamels, then 3 in Milwaukee and 3 in San Diego against the team with the best record in the National League right now. And the Mets come home to play the Marlins and the Padres on that next homestand. Rod Barajas leads off the home 4th inning against Joe Blanton and takes a strike. Barajas drove in the first run of the game with a sacrifice fly in the second, his 25th Run batted in. Sixth consecutive start behind the plate for Barajas. Last year he set career highs for games played and at bats. And he's gotten the vast majority of the playing time with his offensive output so far this year. Hops one up on the infield. And Blanton waiting for somebody to call. Polanco does, one away. But you wonder how far the Mets can push Barajas at age 34 in terms of his playing time this year.
Well, I think what happens is that you can't fall in love with his production all the time because you want him to be fresh. His second half was not as good as his first half last season with Toronto. You've got a very capable replacement that all the pitchers love throwing to, and Henry Blanco, and keeping him fresh will be one of the things that Jerry's going to have to be concerned with over the course of the year.
I think, though, that if the Mets offense continues to produce the way they have the last week and other pieces are falling into place, like Bay, like Reyes, as Frank Cork grounds one down to third, and Polanco throws him out, I think that gives Jerry a little more leeway to give Barajas more rest.
I agree. You know, against a real tough lefty, maybe. You know, they're going to San Diego, maybe a Clayton Richard or something. Maybe Ike Davis gets one day. You know, you get Tatis at bats. All of those things happen if you're winning and hitting. If you're not, you got to send your best crew out there every night.
I'm still of a camp, Ronnie, that we've talked about in the past. We're 11-man pitching staff, 6 guys in the bullpen, have a long man out there. 2 long men if you can get them.
One from the right side, one from the left side.
Yes, that would be ideal. And have 3 catchers, and the third catcher is always your defensive specialist. So you're not wasting a bat on the bench. If you got 5 guys on the bench with 12 pitchers, I'd rather have 6 and a third catcher and have 2 hitters. So you can have Barajas when he's on the bench. You can pinch hit him late in the ball game.
Well, the one thing you need then is more innings out of your starters.
Yes,
agreed, to be able to pull that off.
Or like the old days, real long relievers, guys that are going to pitch 2 1/3, 3 1/3, which they've had all season long.
Guys that can go 5 for you.
There you go.
Like what we saw from Valdez the last 2 times he's been out. Takahashi slashes one toward the hole. Wilson Valdez with the off-balance throw, and he's out at first base. That's a great play by Wilson Valdez, even with the pitcher running. Had to get that throw on target and did so to end the inning.
Very nice.
Well, his starts are becoming special event viewing, much like Johan Santana's. Pelfrey has been that good so far this year, other than the one start in Philadelphia, and he gets to make up for that tomorrow night as he takes on Cole Hamels, who has been really moving forward in the right direction as well.
Yeah, was throwing again 94, 95 miles an hour like he was in 2008. There's Cole.
A couple of relatively young pitchers who are going to be squaring off in this division for a long time to come. And, you know, both hit lulls over the last year or so. But when you have as much talent as Pelfrey and Hamels, you know, sometimes you have to wait a couple of years to get the finished product.
And you aspire to be where this guy's at, even though coming off a tough start. Roy Halladay.
And who has supplied the Mets with their only shutout loss this season. Ben Francisco will lead off in the 5th inning for the Phillies, who have scored in just one of the last 33 innings. Bet you never thought we'd say that about the Phillies. And it's not all knuckleball hangover either.
It's hard to believe, isn't it? In that lineup, in that ballpark.
Well, last week, Tom Gorzelani took them down. Well, Gorzelani's facing the Dodgers tonight.
Yeah.
Gave up 3 in the first. So maybe it is the Phillies. Francisco barely missed a home run. Would have had one in just about any other ballpark his first time up. Getting one high off the Great Wall of Flushing out in left center field.
He hit a fastball as Wilson Valdez is on deck. So what has Takahashi countered with? 2 changeups.
The Phillies so far this year are 5-7 against lefties.
Interesting, though, that Ibanez is sitting tonight against the left-hander. Last year that never would have happened, but his stock has really fallen, and now they're trying to find out whether Francisco can get some more playing time.
He was setting the world on fire last year until he pulled his hamstring, correct?
And his production has fallen off the table since then, mid-season last year. It's funny because the first half of last season, that looked like one of the great free agent signings. You know, a guy who was 36 but considered to be a young 36, 4-year contract, great guy to have on your team. Really played like the first half MVP last year. Now if you talk to the Phillies, they would love to get rid of that contract.
Yeah. Well,
things change. One-two to Francisco. Struck him out. High fastball. 5 strikeouts.
That's right where Barajas wanted it. Watch the target up high and right to it.
Only 86 miles an hour. Don't have to throw 95 to win.
Oh, the old splitter. Oh, guys, stop it. I hate that pitch.
Brad Lidge on the disabled list. Maybe he needs a new weapon when he comes back. What do we think about Lidge at this point? I mean, he's had so many elbow problems.
Well, the problem is that he's had a couple cortisone shots. So what does cortisone do? You folks at home, it masks the pain. So he's been throwing, playing catch. Going to probably throw a bullpen and then go down and have some relief outings and see if that pain does not come back. I know from someone that spent many times under that ugly cortisone shot. I mean, the needles, Gary, were like 6 inches long. Just awful. But it did relieve the pain.
If they hit the spot.
If they hit the spot.
If they miss the spot, Garrett, it will do absolutely nothing. If they get that needle right on the spot and inject it to the cortisone right on the injury and the muscle, it's a miracle.
They get it right or not, the shot hurts, right?
Oh, it's scary. You don't even want to talk about it. I'm getting sick as we speak.
I was like Scarlett O'Hara. I was rubbing my eyes.
Talking to Kyle Kendrick, working on new grips. 3-2 now to Wilson Valdez, who made that fantastic play in the hole to throw out Takahashi to end the last inning.
When a 3-1 count to a hitter and the hitter fakes a bunt, the manager must just go crazy. Good pitch to hit.
Boy, it's hot. Sweating through my clothes here. Goodness.
Yeah. Nice choice for the shake-off by Takahashi.
3-2. Valdez fouls him back.
And why do I say that? Because you would just hate yourself if you walk the eighth place hitter, Valdez, who doesn't have a lot of problem, seventh place hitter, sorry, who doesn't have a lot of power, on a changeup that he takes for ball 4.
You had it right, an eighth place hitter.
Well, this is a lower third of the order that you expect to dominate, with Valdez hitting 7th, Snyder 8th, and Blanton not a particular threat in the 9-hole. 3-2. Base hit. So Valdez has the 3rd Philadelphia hit. 1 out and 1 on. And let's check in with Kevin.
The guys with the runner on for the Phillies, you wonder, are the Mets taking all this sign-stealing stuff for the Phillies seriously? Absolutely they are. I talked to Henry Blanco about how the team will change things, and he said, well, normally for a regular game, you change signs throughout the course of the game 4, maybe 5 times. We will definitely change them a few more times against the Phillies, and there's ways to do it with sequence. Kind of like, third baseman, maybe you touch your chest to wipe it off, or there's a lot of different ways to kind of confuse the opposition. So the Mets will do that more in this game, and especially with runners on base. I asked Henry, just an example, if he catches someone stealing signs, and he gave me a good one. And he said, there was one time in my career, it's only happened a couple times where I really blatantly caught somebody, but I saw someone catching location. And I flatly said to them, if you do it again, you're going to get drilled. And that was the end of that. So a lot of gamesmanship going on, but the Mets clearly aware they're changing it up this series, guys.
However, using basic signs here, unlike what they now do at Citizens Bank Park, where they'll use multiple signs even without a runner at second base, because they feel as though the Phillies were somehow stealing signs in their home ballpark.
Well, I used to love what Don Sutton did. He used to add and subtract himself
with his glove, right? The wipe down.
Schneider pops one up. Reyes out. Who's going to get it? And Reyes out to make the grab. A little hesitation there on everybody's part, but Reyes finally took charge.
Boy, what a nice play by Jose. This is never an easy play, folks, for an infielder. It's an over-the-shoulder catch. It's like a long bomb from a quarterback. And it's never an easy play. That is just terrific.
You know what's 2-2 nights now. Louis had one exactly the same play last night, and now Reyes tonight.
So that's the second out of the inning, and now Joe Blanton, who took a call third strike his first time up. Mets starting pitching is on a roll. The last 8 games, Mets starters are 4-0 with a 1.55 ERA, and that's before Takahashi's great beginning to his start tonight. Been kind of a roller coaster for Dan Worth, hasn't it?
Really has. The same starting staff that, until Mike Pelfrey beat the Braves in Atlanta, hadn't won a game in May.
No, not quite the same starting staff. And I think that's part of the point, that outside of Pelfrey and Santana at this point, everybody's auditioning every time out.
Well, Takahashi was very patient and waited for his turn.
And he's certainly taken advantage of it. 5 scoreless innings tonight, 11 scoreless in 2 starts. Halfway through, 2-0 New York. by Time Warner Cable. Get cable, high-speed online, and digital home phone service with Time Warner Cable's all the best triple play. By Suzuki and the amazing new Kizashi Sports Sedan. And by Chevy. Find your nearest dealer on ChevyOffers.com or call 877-64-CHEVY. Weekdays at 6, find out what has Chris Carlin and Adam Shine foaming at the mouth as they take on the biggest sports stories of the day, your calls, and each other on Loudmouths, presented by Geico. Weekdays at 6, only on SNY. Jose Reyes leads off the home 5th inning. Jose broke a 218 at-bat home run drought in his last at-bat. It had been more than a year since his previous home run, May the 7th of 09 against Jamie Moyer in the Phillies, before he drilled one into the bullpen in right center. Castillo and Bay to follow as the Mets present the top of the batting order against Joe Blanton in the 5th. And Reyes hits another one pretty well out to right center, but this one playable for Worth. And that's the first out of the inning.
It's got to be hard, right? A guy like Reyes, he's struggling to hit the ball out of the ballpark, gets his first home run. And the thing he has to fight ever since he got in the big leagues is right back to basics, ground balls and line drives. That one, though, good pitch by Blanton. I'm just saying he always has to fight that feeling.
He had a good cut of that curveball. It was an excellent curve.
Yep.
He's got his stroke back.
Castillo walked and stole a base his last time up. Flied out to left his first trip, 0 for 1. Sliced down the left field line. Foul.
Well, very slowly, Mr. Blanton has gotten himself back into this game, hasn't he? Throwing strikes. He had more balls than strikes before, and now has turned that around.
Since the 2 walks he issued in the 3rd, he's retired 6 batters in a row. The Mets have never beaten Joe Blanton. 4 career starts, 2-0, 1.59 ERA.
This is his 3rd year with the Phillies.
I remember the first time we saw him out in Oakland face the Mets, and he just dominated them.
Dominated. He went right through that order. Blanton's 49th start with the Phillies, 17-10 is his record.
And Castillo's aboard for the 2nd time with a walk. 4th walk given up by Blanton, who had walked only 5 batters total in his first 4 starts this year. Here's his career numbers. 29 years old. Now Jason Bay is grounded out and popped up tonight 0 for 2. Jason began the night having hit in 16 consecutive games at Citi Field. Finding his new ballpark from an average standpoint much to his liking. Castillo has a stolen base tonight, his 6th of the year. One to Bay.
Ronnie, as a pitcher, when you pitch, let's say against the Cardinals, who were such a threat to steal, and you had to always constantly throw over to first base, did that break up your rhythm?
Or were you able to separate?
I think you had to premeditatively know when you're going to throw over there. What I would do a lot is step off and take a quick look at where their lead was. You also would help. You would scream from first. He's getting a big lead. He's getting a big lead. Let's go. And that would also help. Not run from the bench. It was really run by the players on the field in those days. But there's nothing better than a Vince Coleman or a Willie McGee or Lonnie Smith,
Ozzie Smith,
picking them off at first base. It's a cool feeling. But they could go.
1-2 to Bay. Remember, Vince Coleman stole 50 straight bases against the Mets.
He's the fastest guy I ever saw run on the baseball field. I'm sure there's been other guys that can run faster, but he had the combination of knowing how to steal and getting great jumps, and he just flat out could fly.
Quick acceleration. His first few strides. In there for a call, strike 3. Bay goes down looking at a fastball, and Blanton has just his second strikeout of the night.
Well,
there's your Rusilla fifth inning recap. Sacrifice fly Barajas in the second. Home run Reyes, his first in more than a year in the third. Takahashi, brilliant so far tonight. No walks, 5 strikeouts, 3 hits over 5 innings. Still hasn't allowed a run as a starting pitcher. Last night, the Mets did not strike out a single time against 3 Philadelphia pitchers, and they have struck out just twice tonight. That may be the best sign of all for this Mets offense. Davis has doubled and walked tonight, and Ike takes the changeup off the plate for ball 1. Ike's double was a thing of beauty, a bolt off the 408 mark in center field.
well, one good thing about Ike, and there's a lot of good things about Ike, but he's got a good eye at the plate. Doesn't swing at a lot of bad pitches.
Seen the new I Like Ike t-shirts?
No, I haven't. They good?
He was out hawking them for charity yesterday.
Nice.
He's not running for office, is he?
He shows me something.
Maybe someday.
If he gets an I Like Ike button, then I know he's going somewhere.
It was a natural. Castillo with an enormous jump, and he steals second base. His second stolen base of the night.
Oh, they're pounding inside to Ike today. It's the first. It's a strike and a cutter, and Louis getting that little hook slide.
Propelling himself around the bag.
This has been the first pitcher that has pounded Ike in on a consistent basis. I think Ike got that base hit, the double, the first at bat, first pitch, and a pitch away, and he has thrown him the last 2 at bats in.
And in again, and he drives one to right, but right there is Worth to end the inning. 5 in the books at Citi Field, 2-0 New York. 300 home runs during the 1980s.
Wow.
Nope.
I got to think Schmitty. Oh, no, because Schmitty was done, though, by when? Was he done?
No, 89, 90, I think was.
Yeah? Okay. He did most of his damage in the 70s. He was, good question.
Dale Murphy?
Dale Murphy's a good call. Got to be someone in the American League.
Yeah. John Mayberry?
No, he didn't hang around long enough.
Shane Victorino leads off in the 6th inning. Victorino's flying to left, flying to right. 0 for 5 in this series, just 3 for his last 28. And thinking about a bunt, takes a strike. Well, the Phillies offense in severe brownout right now. The Mets have had something to do with that. 14 innings in this series. No runs for the Phils.
Rolling blackouts.
And a base hit for Victorino leading off in the 6th. So for the second time, the Phillies have the leadoff man on, the 4th hit off Takahashi. And now Placido Polanco, who has one of the 4 hits, single to center leading off in the 4th.
Well, we've seen that Louis likes to shade up the middle. Becomes a problem with Polanco, who loves to shoot that ball between Davis and Castillo in that hole. Very adept at it.
David Wright hugging that third base line.
Runner goes. Polanco pulls one down to third. Wright will have to go to first. And that's the first out. So a hit and run play as Charlie Manuel tries to get his offense jump started. One away, and Victorino now at second. And now the big bats coming up. Well, some very impressive numbers as a starter for Takahashi. Only 1 walk in 11 and a third, and that's held. And now he's got to get through Utley and Howard, trying to protect a 2-0 lead in the 6th. Utley 0 for 7 in this series, and he's now struck out 3 times in those 7 at bats. Pitches on the night for Takahashi. Modified shift there with Reyes on the left side of the bag.
Strikes, Ronnie. Those strikes, you can get success.
You should take these tapes of Takahashi, his last 2 starts, make a DVD and bring it down to the minor league camps. Let the kids watch it. This is how you get hitters out.
1-1 to Utley. Better than 2-to-1 strike to ball ratio. For the 11-year Japanese Central League veteran. Star pitcher for great teams with the Yomiuri Giants. And was completely unfazed when his first major league start just happened to come up against the Yankees. Now against the Phillies. Last year's 2 World Series participants, and the Mets have won 3 straight against those 2 teams. It's the first time since interleague play began in 1997. Of course, it couldn't have happened before that, where teams won 3 straight games with at least 1 win against both of last year's World Series participants. And the Mets trying to make it 4 tonight. 1-1. And Utley led on the fastball, and it's 1-2.
It's in between, Keith. Utley just looks like he can't really get his hips through.
He's all messed up right now. I don't know if it's his hip or he's just in a slump.
Get to that point sometimes when you're slumping as hitters. You're behind the fastball and ahead of the breaking ball. Boy, he had his wings clipped there, didn't he? He was his barber.
1-2. Breaking ball low and away. Isn't that a slump buster sometimes? Victorino at second with one out. Two from Takahashi. Well, he stays in the at-bat.
He looks very defensive, doesn't he, Ron?
Yeah,
it doesn't look like he's really swinging with really any real authority.
Just trying to fight something off to stay in the at-bat. That ball's 6 inches outside, but maybe too close to take.
You can see there's no, the hips are lagging behind. There's no rotation.
Again, the 2-2. Hit hard. Base hit for Utley. Victorino to third. He'll be held up there by Sam Perlazzo as Francoeur misses the cutoff man. No harm. But the Phillies have first and third with one out, and Ryan Howard coming up.
Well, he got himself a hanger here. First big mistake in a big spot by Takahashi. He's the hanger right there. And look, not even a real follow through, almost like a hockey swing.
Francoeur trying to throw a changeup a little high. Nice break by Victorino. And Sammy Perlazzo, our good buddy, good call.
He's not used to being held at third on those base hits to right. But now a moment of truth has arrived for Takahashi, and before he settles in against Ryan Howard, Dan Worthen is going to visit the mound to talk things over. '86 pitches tonight for Takahashi, who threw 101 in his first start against the Yankees on Friday night. Fernando Nieve, who was mentioned tonight by Jerry Manuel as a possible Saturday starter, but Jerry said he would be available in the bullpen tonight. And there he is. So now Ryan Howard with the tying runs on base. This is the last 2 years the folks at Bloomberg Sports have helped us out with this to break down Howard's home runs by pitch the last couple of years.
Interesting how the splitter and the cutter are the least. They're tough pitches to lift, but look at the increase in the slider
and the changeup. Many more on the slider and the changeup last year. He's been held to just 8 home runs so far this year. He's 0 for 2 tonight. And Takahashi comes inside with the slider, 1-0.
What that list tells you is that every hitter has to make an adjustment. You face more of changeups and sliders. You have to adapt. You have to get better at it. And Howard certainly has done that.
Howard just complaining, I believe, to Mike Everett that Takahashi went to his mouth on the mound. And a high strike with a slider, 1-1.
This is not where he wanted to put it. He got it away, but oh boy, that's a pitch to Rick.
You're happy you didn't swing at it.
Yep, that's got way, oh boy, too much plate. Got away with it. See the defense shift, not so pronounced on the right side of the infield.
And a good off-speed pitch by Takahashi to get ahead of Howard, 1-2. There's that changeup against the lefties you were talking about that he was holding in reserve early in the game.
In his back pocket. You don't think I think he's going to double up. How about fastball up in the strike zone? Just one to change his eye level back to the changeup. I would
one more swing. One more change in the dirt.
1-2. He struck him out. Two out.
Well, all night long he has saved his changeup. Started with a bad slider inside. Got a call here in the high slider. And then 2 changeups. Both in the dirt. Out of the strike zone, unable to be put in play there by Ryan Howard. I can't say how outstanding that pitching was in a big spot.
Well, one thing I noticed, and when he pitched the other night, I was down the well in the Yankee series, Garrett, was that when he threw his changeup to the lefties, he started it out of the knees and it sunk bad. He has that ability to do that. And he's ahead. Don't throw it for a strike. See if they go fishing.
He has control in the strike zone, and he has control out of the strike zone.
6 strikeouts tonight for Takahashi, who fanned 7 in a relief outing earlier this year. And now he's going to get through Jason Worth with the tying runs aboard. Worth has been the Phillies' best hitter this year. 33 RBIs, tied for 7th in the league. And Worth attacks and pulls one foul deep down the left field side.
Well, that was a risky pitch right there. A first pitch fastball in, Ronnie, and a hitter right there. So, okay, I'm going to look middle in first pitch.
Well, you also have to remember Worth does not want to get to the changeup. Last time he was up, he got a first pitch fastball in that he took. Just turned it on too quickly.
He was set dead red middle in to try to put this team ahead.
The Phillies just 2 for 13 with runners in scoring position tonight. In the series, I should say. 1 for 9 last night, 1 for 4 tonight. Curveball hit the other way toward the right field line, but foul. Well, when Worth swings at the first pitch, it usually produces a good result. But now he's in a 2-strike hole against Takahashi, who has been much more of a strikeout pitcher than we ever would have expected. Victorino, remember, was held at third on Utley's hit despite his great speed. And now Takahashi trying to pin him there. One and 2 to Worth.
This crowd on its feet, boy, they're into it.
Well, you got to take one more shot out of the strike zone, the 1-2 count. Worth is a good bat ball hitter. Worth loves to go to right field with 2 strikes.
Takahashi's had his best fastball of the year tonight, 89-90 consistently. One-two. In the air to right center, and Francoeur is right there. Side retired. The Phillies at first and third and 1 out, and they do not score. 2-0. Not in the habit of congratulating his fielders as they come off the field.
Well, it's a mutual admiration society, Gary and Keith. They've really appreciated the way he goes about his business.
Now the question is he done for the night after 94 pitches and 6 scoreless innings?
Looks like those greetings he's done for the night. He exchanged the bow for the American man hug.
Well, 12 innings as a starter, he still is not allowed to run. Now the Mets will try and set about getting him a win. He got a no decision in his first start. Involved in a pitcher's duel with Javier Vasquez on the other side. Right fouls one off, and it's 1-2.
Probably saying to yourself, why is Nieve and Mejia up? Well, if Nieve is going to have a start on Saturday and the Mets score a few runs here, maybe Mejia is the choice of reliever.
Wright is 0 for 2, struck out and then hit one to the fence in left field that Francisco caught.
I think it's important to note, too, Francora's arm. He didn't throw anybody out, but he saved a run with his reputation of the strong arm and the accuracy of the arm.
Wright drives one toward the gap in left center. Victorino diving, can't get it. Wright heads for second. Francisco retrieves, and David, after a turn, settles for a leadoff double. Double of the year for David Wright.
A great effort by Victorino. It's a big ballpark here.
It's amazing how quick Victorino got up.
And good help by Francisco, too, to get to that ball. Only the 4th hit of the night for the Mets. And now Angel Pagan comes up.
Do you bunt?
I'd bunt him.
With Barajas and Francor behind him.
Gosh, I would give him one pitch to pull the ball.
And he drops down a beauty of a bunt. Polanco's throw, not in time. A bunt single for Pagan, and the Mets have first and third and nobody out.
Well, the Mets have put down some tremendous bunts in this series. Jose Reyes last night. Look how deep Polanco and how quick late the break was. You know, Lonnie, you mentioned last night about Feliz last year, the difference.
Disguised so well by Angel, but the problem with Polanco right now, Gold Glover at second base, missing some of the little things that happened here in the National League game that didn't happen in the Tigers.
So now Barajas, who drove in the first Met run with a sacrifice fly, and it's set up for him again. The Phillies playing back on the infield, willing to concede a run to get a double play, already down 2-0 in this game. They played similarly last night. Charlie Manuel keeping a lot of faith in his offense, even though they're slumping. Chad Durbin is up in the Phillies bullpen behind Blanton, who's up to 86 pitches tonight.
There goes Pagan. Schneider's throw, not in time. And the Mets have their 4th stolen base of the night. 2 for Castillo and now 2 for Pagan.
Well, you gotta love it. That takes the double play out. What's Charlie Manuel going to do? He's going to bring his infield in now.
He's got to.
Absolutely.
I mean, last night he was down, what, 4-0? He was playing his infield back. I mean, I know he's got a great offense, but at a certain point you have to understand that you're not scoring. And they're staying back.
Wow.
Trying to choke off the big inning and putting faith in his offense. 1-0 to Barajas.
Line down the left field line. Fair ball. 2 will come home. A 2-run double for Ron Barajas. 4-0 New York. And Barajas continues to stick it to his old team.
Well, fastball down and in. RBI number 2 and 3 on the night.
thing about Barajas, guys, is not only has he been getting huge hits, but he has that ability to hit a pitcher's pitch off the plate in and keep it fair. Get going, David. No.
Still nobody out. And now Jeff Francoeur.
This is a better pitch on the ILTV pitch differential. Down and in, running in. Barajas has an amazing ability. That ball, 99% of the time, is pulled foul.
One-on-one to Francoeur has been intentionally walked and grounded out to third, 0 for 1. That's with 3 straight hits to start this 6th inning. Alex Cora has come out on deck to bat for Takahashi, who's now 4 runs to the good. And Henry Mejia, the sole man, up in the Mets bullpen. Francoeur chasing a pitch away, 1-2. Mets continue to get brilliant starting pitching. 6 scoreless from Dickey last night, 6 scoreless from Takahashi tonight. And Pelfrey going tomorrow. Antonio Bastardo, the lefty. Chad Durbin, the righty, in the Phillies pen.
He's got to answer his own phone, Durbin.
Where's Mick Billmeyer?
Come on.
Manning the binoculars somewhere?
I guess so.
2-2 to Francoeur. Line to left. Francisco puts it away. That's the first out of the inning. Let's check in with Chris Carlin, who's standing by with the New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. All right, thanks, Chris. Hanley Ramirez with a homer earlier in that game for Florida. The Marlins are in second place. There's only 1 game separating Florida, Atlanta, the Mets, and the Nationals. As the division is tightened up. Alex Cora, the pinch hitter. And Alex pulls the first pitch foul. Alex has been swinging the bat much better lately.
His stroke has been so short. Right on time.
He's had a chance to start some games recently with Castillo's foot problem. At one point started 3 out of 4 in the last week. Charlie Manuel wonders where his offense went. By the way, Juan Barajas with his double in this inning. Now since leaving the Phillies, 31 at bats, 18 RBIs, and a .548 batting average against the Phillies.
Take that. Don't take it personal.
He was under the Mendoza line when he played for the Phillies. But boy, can he hit against them. Well, tapper by Cora, and it just was foul. Schneider hoped to pick that up while it was on the line.
Watch this ball just off the end of the bat. Alex should run on that ball because you never know what's going to happen.
Very close.
That's one of those that goes fair. You go, oh no, why did I decide not to run?
But when things are going good, right, ball's foul. 2-2 to Cora. Hit hard up the middle. Utley behind the bag. A nice play as it came off the mound, and Howard can't handle it. And Cora's safe. Everything going right for the Mets right now. Even though that ball hit the mound, the Phillies can't complete the play.
That
Something makes me even think that Utley's hip's bothering him. He didn't have much on that throw.
It's a tough play for a first baseman, though, Keith, isn't it?
It's a long hop.
It is?
That should be in your back pocket.
Good.
Well, in my back pocket.
He'd go down there with two hands.
They're going to score an error on Utley on that play.
And I agree. Because he would have been out if the throw was there, if the play was completed.
So that's going to be all for Blanton, who goes 5 1/3 and will give way to the Phillies bullpen. Mets have scored twice in the 6th to take a 4-0 lead. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Lincoln Mercury. Tomorrow night at 7:10 p.m. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Chad Durbin, who appears to have returned to his form of 2 years ago, comes on for the Phils.
Yeah, 19 punch-outs in 20 and a third innings. His last outing, he went an inning and a third against Boston on Sunday afternoon. Couple of strikeouts. Left an inherited runner.
Mets have runners at the corners with 1 out as Durbin takes over to face Jose Reyes, who homered in the 3rd inning after going 218 at-bats without a home run.
Well, they are conceding another run here, and man, it's very tough to double up in Jose Reyes.
It would take a perfect ground ball right out of middle infielder to turn 2 here.
It would take a bullet.
Reyes 1 for 3 tonight. Has hit the ball in the air all 3 times. And he drives one into right field, a base hit. That brings home Barajas. 5-0 New York. Second RBI of the night for Reyes. And the 5th time in the last 6 games he's had 2 or more hits in a game.
Well, first pitch slider. And just right down the pipe. Jose, nice balance. Hitting line drive, not fly balls. He is getting hot.
3 runs are home in the inning, and the Mets have opened up a 5-run lead. Now Castillo, who takes a strike. Louis has walked twice and stolen 2 bases tonight. The Mets have stolen a season-high 4 bases, and they've now stolen 7 in the first 2 games of this series. One and 1 to Castillo. Well, Isanori Takahashi can breathe a little easier now, as the Mets have tacked on runs here in the 6th. Mets will be going to the bullpen in the 7th inning. Henry Mejia getting ready. Broken back grounder for Utley. Has to go to first to get Castillo for the second out as the runners move to second and third. So now a chance for Jason Bay to drive in a couple. Jason's gone 0 for 3 tonight. A ground out, a pop up, and a strikeout.
Well, these are the RBI right here that bust the game wide open.
Bay, the 8th man up in the inning, and he takes a strike from Durbin.
Jason struck out his last at bat on a really tough pitch with 2 strikes and an inside corner fastball.
I think the hardest thing watching Mejia and the bullpen guys is that here's a young guy still learning how to warm up in the bullpen. He's been down there for a long time. Got to make sure you pace yourself. You want to leave it. You don't want to leave it in that bullpen.
Slowly hit down to third, and Polanco throws out Bay to end the inning, but a very productive inning for the Mets as they tack on 3 and send Takahashi off to the clubhouse with a smile on his face. David Wright got it started with a 2-base hit, Pagan a bunt single. Barajas brings in a pair, and Reyes tacks one on. 5-0 New York. Met for a while that they might send him to the minors to become a starting pitcher, and they had internal discussions about it, but decided that probably for the rest of the year, Mejia is going to stay here as a relief pitcher.
He's got the best arm in the bullpen. I mean, it would be great if you could send him down and he'd be back for September ready to go. But who knows the September game is going to matter if you don't have him in your bullpen right now.
Then Francisco leads off in the 7th inning. Francisco hit a long double to left center in the 2nd and then struck out in the 5th. Phillies looking for their first run in this series. They've been outscored 13-0. And Mejia falls behind 2-0. Francisco, then Wilson Valdez and Brian Schneider scheduled for the Phillies in the 7th. And Mejia gets his first strike. Takahashi threw 94 pitches over 6 innings, allowed no runs, 5 hits, no walks, 6 strikeouts. And in line for his 4th win of the year, his first as a starter. Francisco pops one up. Davis, is he going to flip? Too far away. You know, you raise expectations when you do that over and over.
I've seen it 3 times. Do another one. Stand on the top of the railing or something.
Been there, done that. 2-2 to Francisco. Up the middle. And a base hit for Ben Francisco. So the Phillies get the leadoff man on for the 3rd time tonight. Wilson Valdez coming up. Let's check in with Kevin.
Guys, you've debated tonight a lot about Fernando Nieve or Raul Valdez, who'll get the call on Saturday. I talked to Fernando today, and we saw him warming up before. And he said that Jerry told him to get ready to start on Saturday, and basically he had a plan A and a plan B. If he pitched tonight, he's going to come out and throw a kind of a shortened bullpen tomorrow, just working on his curve and his changeup. He told me the 2 pitches that he really needs to sharpen in order to start. If he doesn't pitch tonight, he really wanted to get in a 40-pitch bullpen session tonight, so we'll have to keep an eye on the bullpen to see if he does that. But either one or the other is what he really needs to get ready for Saturday. But he also anticipates he'll be able to throw about 70 or 80 pitches, because he said, you look at it this way. In the span of 5 days, if I work 3 of those days, I'm probably throwing 70, 75 pitches anyway. So that's about what I'll be able to give on Saturday. So we'll watch the bullpen the rest of this week.
One thing we've learned about Fernando this year is he has a very resilient arm. And Valdez hits the breaking ball toward the gap in right center. Francoeur gets over to grab it. And back to first goes Francisco, 1 away. So 1 out and 1 on. Here's Brian Schneider. Schneider is 0 for 2 tonight. Let's say Reyes did a cross-country run into shallow center to run down his pop-up last time up. It's Brian's first game back since coming off the disabled list. He was out with an Achilles injury for about a month. Signed this year after 2 years with the Mets as a Philly to back up Carlos Ruiz. Mejia goes down again.
Give me 15. I'm going to do a push-up. Look like Jack Palance in the Oscars. Jack Palance, yes.
Like a rock'em sock'em robot. Right back up again.
How about the 88-mile-an-hour changeup? Wow.
Raul Ibanez is out on deck to pinch in for the Phils. One and 2 to Schneider. You'd have to say overall it was a very disappointing 2 years for Brian in New York. He came from Washington with a great defensive reputation and really never lived up to that billing.
He was hurt all the time and just couldn't get on track.
1-2. In the dirt, skipping away from Barajas. And down to second goes Francisco.
Tough chance for Barajas there. That's a tough curveball to block.
He might get it with his right arm. Let's see if he gets his right arm. It did. Right in that forearm of Barajas, who tried to use every bit of his body to try to keep it in front.
And he is taking a trip to the mound as much as anything else to give himself some time. And the trainer, Ray Ramirez, is going to come out for a look, as will Jerry Manuel.
On our day, Keith, that would have left a little Chuck Feeney on your arm, wouldn't it?
Yep. Now it's Alan Sealing.
That's right.
Antonio Bastardo up in the bullpen. And Barajas shakes it off.
As catchers do. Tough as nails.
Out there catching day after day. Providing huge hits. He's driven in 3 runs tonight. And now this.
You've got the wrist. I've got the wrist. That's why it hurt.
That'll leave the belt.
Yep.
And still shouting encouragement to his pitcher.
Francisco in second with 1 out. Mejia trying to keep the Phillies off the board. 2-2 to Schneider. Fisted foul.
Well, Mejia has shown enormous poise for a young man of his age and experience, rookie.
He's had some guys in the bullpen really take him under his wing. I see him all the time with Raul Valdez getting their work in, getting their running in, as he's had help on his quest here to learn quickly.
Just inside to Schneider. 3-2.
Well, that was the reputation he came with, and the Met organization told us that they were high on him. He was really ahead of his age, ahead of the game as far as poise and demeanor on the mound. And boy, he sure has proven that right. A tremendous spring to make the club.
Now the 3-2. And Schneider whacks one the other way, foul. Remember, the Mets broke camp this year with 2 20-year-olds. Not just Mejia, but Ruben Tejada, with Reyes on the disabled list to start the season. That's a real rarity.
And Tejada did a nice job while he was here also.
This will be the 8th pitch from Mejia to Schneider. To the right side, where Davis is there to grab it, and will make the play himself. 2 out as Francisco moves to third. Let's check out the answer to our AT&T trivia question. We asked who are the 2 players who hit more than 300 home runs during the 1980s.
Canseco and McGuire.
Schmidt.
We hit it.
We actually got one right. Of course we did. I don't think we've been doing all that well lately. Not that I've been keeping score or anything. So here's Ibanez to pinch hit. Started last night at left field, went 2 for 4, sitting tonight with the left-hander starting for the Mets. Coming up here against Mejia with a runner at third and 2 out. What we have seen so far these 2 nights in the series run so counter to everything we've seen between these 2 clubs over the last 4 years. It's almost stunning to watch this Philly offense scrounge and be unable to put runs on the board. 1-1 to Ibanez.
You know, when you're the opposing team like the Mets, Keith, we used to say when a team is going through those struggles, don't wake them up, boys. Do not wake them up.
Excellent verb there, Gary. Scrounge.
I tried. The thesaurus is right here. Here's the 1-1. 2-1. Ibanez has never had much luck as a pinch hitter. 87 career pinch hit at bats, hitting 149 with 1 pinch hit home run. Of course, he's been an everyday player for much of his career. Two-1 for Mejia. Little dribbler up along first. And Mejia makes the play himself and keeps the Phillies off the board for yet another inning. 16 scoreless innings for Met pitching in this series. 5-0. Did not disappoint with 6 scoreless. Mets with their runningest night of the year with 4 steals, some fine defense as well, and a bolt that we haven't seen in a while. For the first time in more than a year, Jose Reyes goes deep. And the Mets have hit, pitched, and caught their way to a 5-0 lead as we go to the bottom of the 7th. After winning 8-0 from the Phillies last night, the 24-year-old lefty Antonio Bastardo will take over the pitching for the Phils. He's been doing a nice job in relief after making 5 starts for the Phillies last year.
He's a young pitcher that they're high on. He hurt his arm last year. Coming in relief this year, as Gary said. And you see the number 36 on the Phillies uniform on their right sleeve in honor of the late Robin Roberts. There it is.
Patch.
Yep. Great pitcher, wonderful man, gentleman, Robin Roberts.
And really a great presence around the Phillies for the last 60 years, both as a player and then just as an elder statesman with the Phillies organization.
And remember, this is the second year now. Remember, Harry Callis died last year, and they had Harry's his jacket up there that he always wore.
The powder blue jacket.
Correct. Hanging in the dugout. Now it's Robin Roberts.
Joe Blanton went the first 5 1/3, allowed 5 runs and 6 hits. Chad Durbin gave up a hit, got 2 outs in the 6th. And now Bastardo in the bottom of the 7th to face Ike Davis. David Wright and Angel Pagan behind him. That's got a run in the 2nd, a run in the 3rd on Reyes' home run, and then 3 more in the 6th. Davis got the Mets started tonight with a long double off the center field fence, leading off in the 2nd inning. Ryota Igarashi getting ready to pitch the 8th inning after Mejia threw up a scoreless 7. 1-1 to Davis.
Boston 6-2 in the 7th over Tampa. They are sizzling. Yes, they are.
They're going for 5 in a row, the Bo Sox.
Two to Davis. Swing and a miss. He fooled him badly. And that's the first out of the inning. Well, we didn't have a chance to talk about it last night, but I really feel we'd be remiss if we did not note the passing of Jose Lima, who died at the incredibly untimely age of 37 just a few days ago. And Jose was only a Met for a short period of time and not an effective player on the field, but it's a guy who brought a joy to the game unlike very few others. It was almost infectious being around Jose Lima, and his passing has felt greatly.
Yeah, he won 20 games in Houston in '99, I believe. That was his finest year, but really it was the person, Jose Lima. When you got to know him, he had a joie de vivre that just emanated from his body. He just loved playing, enjoyed being in the uniform. He was multi-talented, a great singer, performer, and I think that's how he treated the game of baseball. You know, a lot of guys get, real serious. Well, his way of being serious was to be a performer for the fans, and I think they really appreciate it.
And I think a lot of the players felt his passing greatly. I know Jose Reyes is going to the funeral service for Jose, which will be held in New York here on Thursday. Santana's going, Tatis is going, Castillo is going. A whole bunch of the Mets players will be in attendance. And I think it really speaks for a guy who wasn't with this ball club very long, but really had a big impact.
Well, it speaks volumes about the man, and he had an infectious personality.
Shallow center field, and Victorino in. Right retired, 2 out.
And just 37 years old. Just
terrible.
Tragic. You never know.
Enjoy every day. Here's Angel Pagan with 2 out and nobody on. Angel 2 more hits tonight. Single to right in the 2nd. Had a bunt hit in the 6th. He stole the 2 bases. He scored a run. That's his average up to .293 for the year. That's with only 7 hits tonight, but they have put them together for a 5-0 lead.
There's 4 walks in this ballgame the Mets have been issued, and not one of them has scored. So they made the most of their hits.
Meanwhile, Met pitchers have not issued a walk tonight, and that's been a rarity this season. In fact, Philly pitchers have walked the fewest batters of any staff in the National League, and Met pitchers have walked the most. But it's been turned around tonight.
Igarashi, 12 innings, 2 starts, 1 walk. And
well, Takahashi, when you compare performance to expectations, he's off the charts.
Yes.
I mean, we knew he had had some success in Japan as Pagan pops one foul, but he was a 35-year-old guy, and he didn't know whether he was going to come here and adapt well to the American game. And he is, I mean, really from his first outing of the year, he has impressed as a guy who has a great pitching acumen. But the results have been startling. Three and 1 to Pagan with Ron Barajas on deck. I almost thought that Jerry might send Blanco up to bat for Barajas after he took that shot off his arm, but this Rod wants to keep on plugging.
Well, the problem is if you only got 2 catchers, if Blanco gets hurt, well, you're stuck.
Well, there's always Tatis. As little playing time as Fernando has gotten, he might welcome a couple of innings behind the plate. 1-2-3 inning from Bastardo. 7 in the books. 5-0 Mets. go to the 8th.
He missed over a month with that hamstring injury that he got from fielding that bunted ball. Came back, got roughed up by the Yankees in his first appearance. Third of the inning, 3 runs. Waiting to bounce back here in his second appearance.
And despite that difficult outing on Sunday night, Jerry Manuel reiterated before the game today that against a right-handed part of the lineup, Igarashi is his 8th inning guy for right now.
Yeah, Utley was leading off here. You can see Feliciano. So that's the way that Jerry is going to treat the 8th inning now ahead of K-Rod.
Victorino had his first hit of the series last time up, a single to center field. Phillies have now scored in just one of their last 36 innings. That is stunning. Henry Mejia pitched a scoreless 7th. Now Igarashi for the 8th. Victorino 1 for 3 on the night. Batting left-handed for the first time, and he has struggled from this side of the plate as Feliciano stays ready. Victorino's hitting just .220 as a left-hand batter this year. There's a strike, 1-1. And Nelson Figueroa, who had a rude return to Citi Field last night, up again in the Phillies bullpen. On the ground to second for Cora to handle. 1 out.
Boy, I've never seen the Philly lineup so anemic. Wow.
Not only that they're making out, you're right, Keith, but they're going down in a whimper.
Now, Milt Thompson, the hitting coach, trying to figure out a plan. These are usually fat times for the Phillies hitting coach, but not right now. Polanco 1 for 3, and he takes a fastball for a strike.
Milt charting pitches?
Not charting runs. 16 innings in this series, no runs. 1-1 to Polanco. Chase Utley on deck. We'll see whether Igarashi gets the whole inning or if Feliciano gets the call. Might depend on what happens here with Polanco. Check swing, and he did not go around. 2-1. Well, Polanco, the new third baseman for the Phillies, and of course you can't think of third base for the Phillies without thinking of Mike Schmidt. Panasonic legendary opponent. We've already mentioned him tonight. One of the 2 hitters who hit over 300 home runs in the 1980s, 548 lifetime.
I don't like to compare generations, but I think unarguably, the greatest third baseman of all time. Mike Schmidt.
You have a problem with that assessment?
I had to face him. I agree 100%.
Yeah, I do too.
Because he was such a great fielder as well.
Right, there are other guys that you can look at, one side or the other. Driven into right field on a base hit for Polanco. I mean, and Eddie Matthews, great offensive player. Brooks Robinson, fantastic defensive player. But in terms of putting it all together, and George Brett goes in that category too, but didn't have the power that Schmidt had.
And he wasn't the defensive player that Schmidt was. And some people tend to forget, Schmidt could run.
He could steal a base.
And he could have played shortstop in the major leagues if he had chosen to.
Now, here's my disclaimer. I never saw Pie Trainer.
Oh, okay. How did Pie hit?
Excuse me. Red Rolf. You know, I feel at a loss. Here's Utley, who's 1 for 3, single to right in the 6th inning.
I think what separated Schmidt for me as a pitcher is that in those days, if guys had power, they had power to pull the baseball. He was a guy that could take you out to right field, right center. Certainly guys are taught more to go the other way now. But in those days, it was bail and wail, and he could hit you over the right center field fence.
Well, he had Lizinski next to him in the batting order.
Underrated hitter, by the way.
But Lizinski was more of that pull guy.
Lizinski could bridge you the opposite field, too, with that gap. He was also a
a 300 hitter. Had a couple 300 seasons for a big guy, the Bull. He was a tremendous clutch hitter in that lineup. He was a better clutch hitter than Mike late in the game. I'd rather have had Smith, and that's saying a lot.
Wow.
Than Luzinski with the game on the line.
1-1 to Utley. High fastball by him. 1-2. Fernando Nieve, Pedro Feliciano, both up in the bullpen. It's no longer Nightly Nieve. It's more of a one-off act now.
Semi-nightly. That's a good thing.
Well, he might be 1A on Saturday if Jerry goes ahead with that plan and starts him in Milwaukee on Saturday night.
For a while, he was doing the nightly and the afternoon show.
8 shows a week. Here's the 1-2. Fly ball, center field. And Pagan has it lined up. 2 out. Polanco back to first. Howard coming up. First, we'll check in with Chris Carlin for a New York State Smokers Quit Line game break. Let's see him do it 2 more times. Here's Ryan Howard, who's 0 for 3 tonight. Flying out to left, and a little dribbler. Barajas threw him out. And then the biggest spot of the game for Takahashi. 6th inning, 1st and 3rd, 1 out, and Takahashi struck him out. And got through that inning. His final inning of the night. Now Howard facing Igarashi. And looks one over for a strike.
I know you guys might find this shocking, but Rivaldo Jimenez is into the 5th inning with a shutout again against the Diamondbacks.
He's already allowed 3 hits.
Struggling.
3-0 Colorado. And Arizona, the top scoring team in the National League. As surprising as that might sound. But you've got a lot of tough outs in that lineup.
Well, they all can bridge it. You know, Kelly Johnson getting off the start he has. Atlanta Braves West over there with Adam LaRoche. And of course, Mark Reynolds, Upton, Chris Young. Beat goes on.
The Yankees on the verge of a sweep. Vasquez pitched that 2nd game for the Yankees. They're up 3-2 in the 9th.
Down tip. 1-2. And that game is now a final. The Yankees win the nightcap 3-2 after winning the suspended game 1-0. Andy Pettitte pitched that game.
He did? Okay. Who pitched the 1st game for the Yankees?
Burnett. A.J. Burnett.
Okay. Don't pay attention to me.
1-2 to Ryan Howard. He struck him out. And the beat goes on. 17 scoreless innings from Met pitchers against the Phillies in this series. Mets are rolling, trying for their 4th straight win tonight, all against the 2 teams that competed in the World Series last year. And now Nelson Figueroa, the former Met, fresh off a drubbing last night and fresh off some rather interesting comments about his departure from New York. Will pitch again.
Yeah, they had some add-on runs against Nelson last night, 3 more earned runs. I think, Gary, that's a frustration over a couple of periods, couple of years' time. Nelson, of course, was DFA'd one time, re-signed. There's just frustration, I think, from giving up the runs. And we know him as a good citizen. He made a bad mistake.
Yeah, I was very surprised. He said, I shouldn't have had to prove that I belonged on this team. Well, you know, when you're a journeyman player, you always have to prove you belong on a team.
I don't care who you are. You have to show you belong every single day in major leagues.
Rob Barajas has driven in 3 of the 5 Met runs tonight with a sacrifice fly and a 2-run double. 1 for 2 on the night. And he takes it off the plate 1-1. Figueroa recently went 19 straight days without pitching. And now pitching the 2nd straight day. And of course, that's a big part of his value is his ability to fill any role on a pitching staff. Barajas lines one right to Utley for the first out. So 1 out of the inning. Well, now let's check in with our friends Shamarish and Mandeep and hear what they have to say about their new web store.
Come visit us nynysportspost.com. In the computer, visit our store.
In the computer?
Yes, in the computer. nynysportspost.com.
Oh, yes.
Yes, in the computer. Yes.
It's in the computer.
A little repetitive, but I get it.
Jeff Francoeur for 2 and an intentional walk tonight. Batting with 1 out of the bottom of the 8th. And takes a rip. 1-1. Hit hard, but right at Valdez. And there are 2 down.
You know, Keith, I will say something watching Francoeur. You know, it's strange when you see a box score sometimes you go, well, he's 0 for 3 with a walk. Must be struggling, but he took 3 really good at bats. And for someone who knows nothing about hitting, the way I judge a hitter is if when he gets a pitch, he has conviction going after that pitch, and that's what he's done tonight.
Well, box scores, you can have an 0 for up there, and you can hit 4-line drives right at somebody. Stats are very sterile, and they don't tell the story. You know, you can go 4 for 4 and have 4 for 4 bloops.
Well, it's the difference between process and results. You know, the process could be perfect, but you can't control the flight of the ball, and the results might not be there.
Now, if you keep hitting line drives and they go at him for 3 or 4 days, that's when anger sets in.
Cora up for the 2nd time. Hits one off the fist. Figueroa can't make the behind-the-back play, but Valdez is there to end the inning. So a bounce-back performance by Figueroa. Now the Mets will be going for back-to-back shutouts of the Phillies when the Phils come up in the 9th. their series finale at Citi Field. Mets-Phillies coverage begins tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. only on SNY. Fernando Nieve will come on to try and finish it off for New York.
Well, Nieve, you see that ERA has jumped in the last month of May. He came off in April with a real torrid start, but has come back to earth a little bit. And interesting, he's getting this pitching here on Wednesday. We'll see if he starts on Saturday.
First outing since Saturday against the Yankees when he faced just 2 batters, a strikeout and a bases-loaded walk. Jason Worth takes a strike. Jose Contreras, the Phillies closer, just getting some work in the bullpen. Hasn't been much work for a closer for the Phils, who were in danger of losing their 4th straight. The last time the Philadelphia Phillies were shut out in back-to-back games, August of 2008. Once by the Marlins, once by the Pirates. And they're 3 outs away from being shut out back-to-back by the Mets. 2-1 to Worth, who's hit 3 fly ball outs tonight. Ben Francisco and Wilson Valdez to follow. And Worth fouls one off the right side, 2-2. Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night after the postgame show, we'll go around the NL East. Ozzie Guillen got into it with Joe West. Got himself ejected. Mark Burley did too. And of course, more on the Super Bowl coming to the New York metropolitan area. All coming up on Geico Sports Night tonight. 2-2 from Nieve. On the outside corner, strike 3 call. 8 strikeouts tonight for Met pitching. Let's see what's coming up on Lincoln Mercury postgame live. Check in with Chris Carlton and Bobby Ojeda. Guys. Okay, guys, here's Ben Francisco, who came the closest the Phillies have come to scoring in this series when he hit one high off the high wall in left center back in the 2nd inning. Went for a double, would have been a home run in every other major league park.
Well, Gary, to put this ineptitude of offense in Philadelphia in real perspective, you said they hadn't been shut out twice since the date you gave. But they were shut out on Saturday by Matsuzaka, almost threw a no-hitter. On Sunday, Wakefield threw 8 scoreless, and until they brought the reliever Ramirez in, who gave up the 3 late runs on the blow 2-run home run, the starting pitchers who have started games against the Philadelphia Phillies have shut them out over 4 days.
That's the only inning they've scored in of the last 37. That's stunning.
And it was the reliever who's the 12th pitcher on that Boston staff.
Slow ground ball. David Wright comes in to grab it. And he throws out Francisco. And now the Phillies are down to their final out. Still in search of a run. The Mets have already had back-to-back shutouts this year. They did it with the rain-shortened game that Pelfrey pitched against the Braves on April 25th. And then the first game of the doubleheader against the Dodgers on April 27th that Santana started. But this is different. And if the Mets win tonight, they'll get back to a game over 500 and to within 3 games of the first-place Phils. Quite a turnaround from where things were 4 or 5 days ago.
The season has its ebbs and flows. Oh, boy. Ross. Jeez. What a Messi's crunch. Did you ever do a leaf? No, I never did.
Greg Dobbs, the pinch hitter, and he takes a strike from Nieve, 0-1.
I tried it in AAA when I was 19. I didn't like it. Turned green. It was in Denver. It was a huge mistake.
Dobbs struck out as a pinch hitter in last night's game. Now the breaking ball misses. The last time the Mets shut out the Phillies in back-to-back games. Oh, that's very nice.
Were you supposed to throw?
Yeah, it's like the dunk machine. Yeah. Isn't it?
Oh, God.
Swing and a miss, 1-2. The last time the Mets shut out the Phillies in back-to-back games, July of 1998. The winning pitchers, Hideo Nomo and Al Leiter.
Wow.
They're one strike away. And Dobbs stays alive. Brian Schneider would be next. Line to short. Reyes with the grab, and the ball game is over. The New York Mets with back-to-back shutouts of the first-place Philadelphia Phillies. 4 straight wins for the Mets, 2 against the Yankees, 2 against the Phillies. Isunori Takahashi has his first win as a Major League starter, and Reyes finishes it in spectacular fashion.
There's some hops there, Keith. Way up off the ground is Jose Reyes, Jerry Manuel's squad, feeling good about themselves. Takahashi now 12 scoreless in 2 starts. Nice job by Mejia in the 7th. The 8th inning man Igarashi with a scoreless inning. Nieve with a mop-up roll, and handshakes all around.
Well, what a turnaround it's been. This is a huge first 2 wins in this opening series, and the Mets with 7 hits make the most of it with the 5 runs, doing the little things like what I see.
The Mets are now 18-9 at home this year, with the victories in their last 4 games against 2 of the toughest teams on their schedule. Brilliant starting pitching again.